Speed kills. The people that can take a process and implement it quickly are going to win. And whether that's processes, implementing just-in-time inventory standards or Lean Six Sigma process discipline so that every repair is 99.999% reliable. And you have to realize that excellence is a process, not a destination. It's something you have to practice every day and do over and over and over again through iterative improvement and honest self-evaluation. You can't lie to yourself and get better. I don't seek fame and riches for the sake of fame and riches. Designing an excellent company, assembling an excellent team is a way to help these men and women provide for their families, glorify God, and grow.
You're listening to Building Dallas, hosted by Arrington Roofing. With 42 years of roofing North Texas, Arrington Roofing is building a better roof for you.
Hello, my name is Reese Arrington. Welcome to Building Dallas. We talk about Dallas stories, businesses from the ground to the roof. We have a really special guest today, someone that I've known for, or at least he's known me for, I think, my whole life, right?
I think it's probably right.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. Yeah, he started out at the Naval Academy. He's a naval flight officer, test pilot, MBA at Columbia Business School, a BS in computer science at the Naval Academy. He's conducted due diligence for special purpose acquisitions companies, led a successful one at that, managed P&Ls up to $35 million, built and scaled a consumer Fintech startup up to $125 million evaluation, bridging technology, finance, and real estate. Today we have Robert Reagan. Thanks
Reese.
for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you here. Yeah, so, our family has been friends for, 35 years. They're longer.
I mean, since going back to the very first memories that I can have. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, and you were quite a bit older than me. I mean, not that you're super old or anything, but
that's a nice way to put it. Yeah,
you were older than me.
I didn't just ferment my beard for this. So
yeah, I mean, you look great,
yeah.
But your sister Shannon was my babysitter, like my main babysitter growing up, and so you were kind of this guy that I looked up to because you went off to the Naval Academy. You were doing these really cool things. I always had a lot of respect for that. And then afterwards, I got to see more of you, coming back from the Naval Academy. So just going back to those days, what made you want to go to the Navy, and what was the experience like?
I mean, honestly, I grew up thinking I was going to go to Texas A&M and be a mechanical engineering major, and kind of didn't really even think about it till about junior year in high school when I started to realize that wherever I went, I was going to have to figure out how to get the money for it. And ROTC scholarships in the Naval Academy started looking pretty good. Was fortunate enough to get in and get a nomination and pass all that stuff. And so the rest is history. I pivoted from mechanical engineering into computer science. I thought I was a very prescient young 18-year-old, I think, thinking that, realizing that of the academies, the Navy puts you into a service that has to be stationed near the water. So generally better real estate than all the other services that just need cheap dirt.
Right.
And then I thought, computers are going to be the wave of the future. So, I mean, I'll date myself back in the 2001 era. That was it was the .com boom, but not exactly hadn't transformed. We didn't have iPhones or anything like that yet. And
iPhone came out 2008,
2007, I think.
2007. Yeah, and that was
thereabouts.
Huge. Yeah. So what formation did going to the Naval Academy have on your future self? I mean, I imagine it takes a lot of self-discipline, or at least a lot of you have guys that are in charge of you that are drilling in discipline. So it
definitely teaches
habits?
You an awareness of discipline and the value of discipline. I probably should have taught me a lot more discipline than I currently have, I think. I didn't absorb all the lessons, but I did my best. In reality, I think what it really did was expose me to being a manager of tradespeople. Like, at its fundamental level, the Navy is an organization of specialized tradespeople that work on different parts of a ship, different parts of an airplane, different disciplines and administrative functions and stuff. And being able to take a generalist and management view of all of those functions and figure out how to lead and manage was probably the biggest thing I got out of the Navy.
Yeah. So, it brings up a kind of interesting topic of discipline versus love of the game, whatever
Yeah.
the game is, right? Did you just love being in the Navy? I mean, was it something that you woke up and you're like, yeah, I get to,
Good question. Good question.
do PT all day and all this, or was it really just doing
Well, I
your
mean,
duty?
let's pump the brakes. It's the Navy, not the Marines. We don't PT all day.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like I certainly loved what I did. So I flew an airplane that was designed to hunt submarines from the sky, which is a pretty fun and challenging like tactical problem to solve.
Yeah,
that was great. But yeah, the Navy has a way of putting a bunch of administrative load on you that makes all the fun stuff not quite as fun. You can't enjoy it quite as much. I enjoyed the service. I enjoyed the people. I'm happy to be out and be doing, kind of charting my own course here. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
But those skills and that discipline that probably lent you to,
certainly
have to put that somewhere else after you left the Naval Academy.
Absolutely. Right? I mean, I think they're just foundational skills for really any career or discipline that you want to go into. Being disciplined and focused and organized is kind of table stakes, I think, for success.
Yeah. So what's the process to getting into the cockpit? I mean, you flew the planes, right? So I mean, not many people get to that level where they actually have control over that, however many $1 million.
Yeah.
aircraft.
So you mentioned it earlier. So I was a naval flight officer. That's like Goose and Top Gun, right? Like the guy sitting in the back. Or if you want to go with more of a main character energy, it would be Owen Wilson from Behind Enemy Lines.
Okay.
The naval flight officer, mostly the same path as a pilot. You start out in the same basic aviation indoctrination course down in Pensacola. Then you go to a squadron where you get the basic hands-on mechanics of flying, and then as soon as you've got that phase behind you, you're doing instrument navigation and working with a pilot to manage an aircraft and a mission. In mine, we had anywhere up to 20 people on board the airplane, and so the pilots would concern themselves about keeping the plane in the sky and making sure it went where it needed to. And as the naval flight officer in the back, I was running the whole mission crew to get the job done.
Okay. So in that kind of plane, are you hitting like crazy G-forces, or is it kind of a cruiser?
It's slow and relatively low for like tactical air or airliners. But the main mission of finding submarines, you'd be as low as 200 feet over the water.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, pulling some G-forces, but not.
Right.
We're not talking about
your face is
nobody's blacking out or like.
Yeah. That's
we don't
cool.
get any
So,
of that.
I know that there's these missions that are relatively, probably very well thought out, right? Like But has there ever been a moment where you experience some sort of like danger, or like this might not go how we want it to?
I mean, like, so bad guy danger or
either
danger.
Either one. I mean, natural danger of being in an airplane,
sure,
that low to the ground, or bad guy danger.
I did a lot of missions up to the shoreline of Libya during like the fall of the Gaddafi regime, when they had a bunch of SA-5 missiles that are kind of giant telephone pole-sized surface-to-air missiles that go faster than the speed of sound. But I think it's been a long time, but I think they're like Mach 5, so about 10 times faster than my airplane could fly. Plenty fast enough to catch up, right? Yeah. And just managing that risk and understanding how to get well inside their engagement envelope from like a distance, but staying below their radar horizons so they couldn't see us. We were being extra safe and thoughtful about how to do that. In reality, I don't think any of them really could have taken a shot at us. I don't think any of them were functional. That was the kind of the like the 80% confidence intel assessment. Anyway, it was a safe environment, but you still have to manage that risk, as if it's not like it's no matter what the intel analyst on the ground says about like, we think this SAM's not going to shoot at you. It's still your body in that airplane.
Yeah. And so when you're up there,
manage it.
You're using your machines to locate the submarines, right? And then do y'all take the shot?
So we actually did fire a shot. This was we were mostly surveillance mode for this mission set, where we're watching what's going on in the Libyan cities and stuff. And actually a sortie right before mine one day ended up did engage a boat with a missile. Like they were taking pot shots at some refugee boats, and so they.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when you shoot a missile into the water,
yeah.
And I mean, we've all seen war movies. Is spectacular? I mean, are you even close enough to see the?
You're definitely not close enough to see it with your own two eyes.
Right.
At least clearly, you get a good view on the camera turret, and that's what we were all watching the camera video.
So you're like sitting there behind it, like
Oh yeah.
yeah. No, that's pretty sweet. Yeah. Well, that's awesome, man. And so you studied BS, computer science. There, and then you transitioned from there to Columbia. So where did that?
Yeah.
Transition happen? Was there time in between that,
or did you plenty just of time in between that? Yeah,
straight there.
So I spent almost 10 years in the Navy. I guess for all the veterans looking at transitioning out, my heartfelt encouragement for you to stick with it. It's a tough transition to go from military government service to try and translate into the civilian world. Sure. I was going to job fairs and stuff and wasn't really liking what I was seeing. And I had previously made the decision, I think probably to my detriment, that I didn't want to go to business school. I was already a mid-career age professional doing, making money, and I just assumed that I would find something.
Right.
And so kind of put off the idea of going to business school. And then after hitting a few career fairs and stuff like that and not really liking what I was seeing as far as the options before me at that time, decided, maybe getting into an MBA program is a good way to get a little bit more, glitz and glam, I guess, on my resume,
Sure.
get in front of different opportunities. And so I went and took the GMAT, did it like really well. And so I was like, well, whatever comes out, I'm gonna go to business school eventually.
Yeah.
Because this is like kind of too good to walk away from.
So real quick, the GMAT is a preliminary
that's
test
the
you take, kind of an aptitude.
yeah, it's like the SATs,
kind of, okay.
but for business school.
Gotcha.
And in between taking the GMAT and deciding to go to business school eventually, it's kind of like out of cycle to get in right when I was getting out of the Navy. Ended up getting a fantastic opportunity with General Motors to run to be a senior design release engineer, which is a fancy name for like engineering project manager for the autonomous vehicle program. And so that was a pretty unique opportunity for a guy fresh out of the Navy to roll into a Fortune 10 automobile manufacturer.
Yeah.
Kind of on the cutting edge of technology.
And so when was that?
That was in 2016.
Okay.
So that was right before, or right when they were announcing that they had bought Cruise Automation in San Francisco. So I was helping build the test vehicles for that project, and then the future, what they were going to take to production. I think they've scrapped that business. I think Google's got, or Waymo rather, has a little bit too much of a lead there, and they've decided to migrate all the technology into their Super Cruise and production level vehicles. But
so was that kind of with the curve? I mean, when did Tesla start doing self-driving? I mean, Waymo's barely gotten there in the last few years.
So Tesla was talking about doing self-driving and had done some of their autopilot stuff. Waymo, the DARPA, so the kind of the origins of anybody paying attention to self-driving was the DARPA, some DARPA challenge. I can't remember the name. It's escaping me right now. But DARPA is the Defense something Advanced Research Projects Agency, or again, don't quote me on that. I'm sad that this is being recorded, but it stands for something fancy. It's the government's way of saying, develop some cool technology that we can use on weapon systems, and we'll let you commercialize it too, but we're just going to offer a bounty for really solving really cool technical challenges.
Gotcha. Okay, so there's
that DARPA challenge yielded they had the challenge to be able to drive through a road course in the desert without any driver, and that kind of just ignited a spark, and it smoldered for I think 10 years. I think the original one was in like 2005 or kind of early mid 2000s, and it smoldered for a few years until it really got close to being commercializable, and that's when folks like Google, a lot of the people that started up Google and Uber and these other self-driving car programs all came out of that original DARPA challenge.
Yeah, that's so interesting because, I remind myself that the United States the government doesn't really produce anything, right?
Yeah.
Even all our weaponry and all of the fleets that we have to develop are all done in the private sector. But you don't really you think Lockheed Martin, you think like these weapons manufacturers that basically are just the only client they have is the U.S. government. I don't usually think about companies like General Motors doing military development for the national government. So what is how does that work, and how do those do you know how those contracts kind of get awarded?
That's beyond me. That is If I knew, I'd probably be in a different line of business.
Right. Yeah.
It's a very particular contract winning process.
But it must be a good place to be in as General Motors to go, okay, and we're going to get a contract with the national government to make something that then we also get to repurpose for our consumers.
The DARPA was really just offering, I think it was $1 million bounty. If you were the first to finish the challenge, you got $1 million, which, the level of investment and effort into winning the challenge, it wouldn't even pay a fraction of the cost of entry, the actual cost of building the product. It was more just to spark and drive the innovation towards autonomous systems and sensory and perception problems, compute problems, spatial awareness. There's just a lot of new technology that had to get developed to support all of that, and we see it a lot today. Even this has a little LiDAR camera in it that maybe we would have had some LiDAR development without the DARPA challenge, but it certainly, I don't know, maybe it wouldn't. Right.
Yeah. So is it more like a badge of honor these companies get?
Yeah. It's like the Super Bowl for robotics nerds.
Okay.
Right. Let's go win this thing and take, that's the thing about it that way.
Yeah. And so how many of these are these multiple challenges?
I never actually competed in that challenge, so I can't say for sure. But there were a lot of different teams.
Well, because you were a soldier, you weren't a nerd, right?
I was the nerd in the airplane.
Yeah. Well, I always thought of you as a soldier. If that makes sense.
There you go. Yeah. Stroke my ego. There we go.
Yeah, you were out there, man. I remember your brother came back one day we were at church, and James is always just pretty skinny, and he comes back and his traps go up to his ears, and he's massive. I'm like, holy crap. He's like, yeah, I'm trying to be a Navy SEAL, I was like, wow, man, these Reagan boys are badass.
He definitely had a lot more focus on that part of things. I was the nerd challenge kind of problem solver.
Well, it seems like it's worked out for you. Just looking at this, managing decently high 8 figures, taking companies public in a kind of a different way than what people usually think. So, how did that come about? The SPAC, right? If you can explain what that is, and then how you got into that, and what it involves taking a company public through that process.
Yeah, that was a very interesting opportunity I had come up in business school, and again, it's just an interesting thread through my life story where I spent a couple of years at General Motors, then to get into Columbia Business School and go there and find that there is a kind of an adjunct faculty member that used to be the chairman of the board at General Motors, and I was just like, hey, I was just working there. I'd love to have a 30-minute kind of office hours conversation with you. Went and met him, and it turns out he was running a SPAC and offered me a free internship just to kind of put into practice what I was learning in my MBA basics courses and stuff like that, and got an interesting opportunity to look at a few targets in diligence and consider them for acquisition. And then right when they started looking at the company they ended up buying, I had started with the mortgage startup already. So I was already kind of on the way out the door with them as they started those conversations. But I got a bunch of rounds of looking at some deals that didn't work out.
Gotcha. And so SPAC, not SPAC. I guess that's my ignorance.
Yeah.
You can call it whatever you want.
Yeah, you can call it SPAC. I don't care.
So in that process, how I understood it on my limited research is you have a company that is going to, private equity, right? That is a publicly traded group, right, or fund, essentially, that absorbs a smaller privately owned business.
Smaller, bigger, doesn't matter. The gist is it's kind of a cheat code around the disclosure requirements and the typical path and roadshow you have to do to take a company public. What a SPAC is some investors will pool a bunch of money and put it in a bank account, and they'll form a company that owns that bank account, right? And all they do is just sit on cash. They don't have any operations. And then that company will go look for a business to merge with, right? So the merger process is less regulatory requirements, and this is where, again, like I go talk to an investment banker to get all the insider details on this. But it's cheaper, it's easier, and it's less scrutinized. Like your financials are less scrutinized. There's less of a process to go through. And so you can find some interesting deals that way.
Yeah.
It was really hot back in the early 2020s, kind of late 2019 through 2022 maybe. Really kind of a popular thing. And there's still some going now, but I think a couple of famous ones blew up, and the bloom was off the rose from the investor population there. So
will those SPACs, will they end up acquiring just one company, or would they go after multiple?
Yeah, I mean,
it's the snowball kind of gets
typically
rolling?
you want to form one operating public company, right? So they've got this public company listed on a stock exchange that just holds cash, and you're going to want to end up with a business that looks good for public reporting, right?
Sure.
So you don't want to have just any collection of businesses,
right?
And so they're typically looking for kind of one operational play.
Okay. So you did that, and you built up the fintech company. So is that where is that the mortgage company you're talking about?
Yeah.
That you were kind of transitioning to at the time?
Yeah. So during my summer, in between the 2 years of business school, a friend had gotten his startup. He was also in business school. Another Navy friend of mine got his startup into Y Combinator, which is a kind of a famous startup accelerator. And coming out of there, he looked like he was going to get funded, and said, if you come on with me, they'll give you an internship. We'll see where this goes. I was like, sure. I would, got nothing to do. I'm in business school, and I don't know if the secret's out yet, but there's not a whole lot of actual real work and that you have to do in business school. Sure. You've got free time for extracurriculars.
Gotcha.
And so that's what I decided to spend my free time with for the remainder of my time. And then I picked a fortunate year, picked an interesting year to wrap up my B school degree in 2020. So because of that, I was supposed to go off to London and be a management consultant, pretty kind of vanilla MBA track. The 2020 COVID pandemic, all the start dates got delayed, and I had a young son and a wife that liked to eat and sleep inside. So waiting a year to start that job was not in the cards. And they had just gotten funded. So I was like, hey man, I'll come on full time. Let's go. Let's do this. Yeah. And we ended up raising two, like a Series A and a Series B, before that consulting start date came around for me. So I told them thanks, but no thanks. I'm going to commit all in here. And
And so how much time did you spend at that company?
That would have been, if you count like the kind of halftime internship days, it would have been almost 4 years.
Okay. And so where'd y'all start and where'd you end up when you left?
So we started at like 3 guys and working like on laptops in college housing, like, business school housing in my apartment in New York, or a Regis, like single office in Cambridge. And went from that to $125 million valuation on our Series B. It was a pretty exciting journey to grow that business that fast.
So from debt, right, owing investors, right, to having an evaluation of $125 million.
Yeah, massive massive progress for that short
in 4 years.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So there's probably a lot that happened in those 4 years that got you there. But I'm sure that, like with working with my dad's company, there's a lot there, right?
Yeah.
There's already a lot there. So do you think that there's some benefit to starting from scratch? Sometimes?
Oh yeah, certainly. Like there's the benefit of starting from scratch is really having, as an operator, is having that ground level awareness of like, what are the fundamental things that make this business tick, right? What are the operational challenges? What does it feel like to push through a challenge, that specific kind of challenge, and solve it? What does fixed look like? What does right look like? Coming in, so I mean, cutting my teeth. The startup was in the mortgage business, and I did online training to get a mortgage license to be a loan originator. I got the business registered at different levels, and kind of from brokerage all the way up to correspondent lending. And this isn't the podcast to get into those nitty gritty details, but suffice it to say, like, I had to fight through a lot of regulatory and kind of partner compliance issues and learn like what we needed to do to clear like milestone hurdles to grow our business. And to walk in and just kind of take the reins after that's been fought, you don't really have a good, borrow from more of a military term, but you don't have a good awareness of your battle space when you kind of just parachute in and start, start from something already created. Yeah. That said, it's certainly possible to parachute in. You just have to take a different kind of leadership track.
Yeah, I mean, you end up blowing up a lot of what exists if you already have foundation there that isn't currently working. And, the hard part about that is that it involves people. Yeah. And that's where it's like really tough because, we get into business because we want to serve people. And then when we go into a system where, maybe it's the wrong people in the wrong place, or the wrong people in general, you have to make changes. I mean, that's where things get really tough. Yeah.
I mean, it's the same though when you start from scratch, right?
Sure.
And you can't like a good way to think about it is if you're running a business, your job is to make sure the business runs, right? And that's really best for everybody at the business if the business stays in business.
Right.
Kind of basic, right? But it's when you start to change your scope from the forest to like this tree or that, to this person or that person. That's where that emotionally challenging decision making comes into place. Like, is this person in the right seat, or is this person even on the right bus? Like, should they be in this on this team? There might be a better place for them somewhere else, and like you can't provide that. You run the bus you're driving. Like that's it, right? You run the business you're running.
So on your team, I mean, you were doing this with two different people. There was 3 or 4 of you.
For the mortgage business?
Starting that up.
Yeah, so we started out with just the 2 co-founders and me.
Okay.
Very shortly after they got funded, they brought on another couple from the Boston area, a couple of folks there. And then we grew to, I think we had over 100 people at one point.
Wow. Well, so when you talk about personality, with those kind of original handful of people, were y'all's personalities really complementary? I mean, did you have some people that were just really data driven, some people that were really people driven? I mean, how did y'all mesh together?
I'd say we were mostly data driven group of guys, and I wasn't a founder. I was kind of an employee. If you count the 2 founders, I was employee number 3.
Gotcha.
But we were all pretty data driven folks, I think, and pretty brass tacks type of people. Gotcha. And I think that might have been one of ours. And that's not to say nobody had any emotional intelligence, but I think if you were to put the front runner for all 3 of us, it would have been data driven and fact based decision making. I mean, it was a fun business to build, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's just so different than, my dad's a great businessman, and I take after him a lot, and just like the emotional side of things. I mean, we're both very like high I on like the DISC test.
Sure.
We like the influence. It's got to be fun. You know, and then I noticed that, taking the test again, I've become more high D, but, I'm always pretty low on the S and the C.
Okay.
So it's, get things done quickly, but like, let's make it really fun doing it, and sometimes that's not as conducive to just like, really looking at the data and slowing down and not making emotional decisions. Because
Sure.
if it's not fun, like firing someone, having to
Well, I
have
think
difficult
we're in-
conversations, like those things aren't really that fun to do sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly never fun to. Well, I don't know. Maybe there's some people out there that have fun with it, but I don't think it's very fun to have the tough coaching conversations or like the termination conversations. None of that's ever like fun to do. It's just necessary part of driving an efficient organization. But I mean, to your point, I think we're in a new era where I think like the people focus can really excel a little bit better than, and a little bit more with more impact than it used to. Because I think the data-based decisions are getting a lot easier to find and make. Right? Like I think it's easier now than it has ever been to get the right data if you know how to get it and to make the right decision from that data. I mean, you can basically ask an AI to do it, right? And if you've got everything wired up properly, you've got your business disciplined enough to capture the right data in the right ways so that a computer can see it. Like you can get accurate data to drive a decision really quickly, right? And so that it used to be you'd have some spreadsheet in mind that you wanted to make, and then like some graph or some analysis of it and go through hours. And I mean, at least I did. Hours and hours of trying to figure out what's going on in the data. Where's my data wrong, maybe, and decipher signal out of that noise.
Right. And master Excel
right.
spreadsheet creator to just get basic sales data.
Right. And now you can just kind of ask Claude. Or ChatGPT to do it for you, and you get a great product. And so, circling back to what you're saying, like that, it used to be that the business, kind of one of my working theories right now is the businesses that would win had that really strict operational discipline, and not that being people focused wasn't helpful, but it was just kind of a more muted signal. And now that I think making data decisions and data analysis is easier, I think that it just becomes more important now to be a people person.
Yeah, because for businesses, it's just more accessible to have this data.
Yeah.
So your differentiator, your secret sauce, is going to have to be how do you create winning cultures that are going to drive.
I mean, at the end of the day,
talent.
you got to get the people behind you.
Right.
Right. And if it's like no business, no business is going to run without everybody rowing in the same direction.
Right.
And so, if you're that people person that can ask Claude the question, get the answer, and say, okay, people, here's where we're going, and get them behind you, you're going to win.
Yeah.
It's always been important. I just think that the data analysis is becoming less of a necessary skill set to have and something more you can just grab right off the shelf.
Right. That makes sense. So talking about people, I know we kind of mentioned this before we started recording, but, how do you find good people? You mentioned you create them.
I found a lot of ways to not find them. I found a lot of the wrong ones. Just like I would not grade myself as a successful talent scout. But I think I've been pretty successful, especially lately, of figuring out ways to make the people. Like the business I run today is a very niche trade, right? We do water well pump servicing. And if I want to if I want to double my business, I've got to find twice as many people that I currently have that know how to pull a pump out of the ground, troubleshoot it, diagnose it, fix it, put it back. That is a pretty rare skill. Like it's not something that's just growing on trees.
Yeah. You can't put
most people are
Indeed
shocked
ad
to
out
hear
for it.
that. Yeah, most people I talk to are shocked to hear that houses still have water wells. And so, it's became acutely obvious to me that the only real way to find good people was to make them, like put them through the ringer as juniors and assistants, but be structured and organized about how they can upskill themselves and become a lead producer instead of the assistant that holds the shovel or turns the wrench. Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's been one of my little AI exercises lately, is how to deliver a good training platform for my people.
Sure. And I mean, I've spent a lot of time trying to develop, good training, and I think it's easy to overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I got like 45 pages into this whole document, and I'm like, okay, I've been in roofing for, I'm 34 years old, but I've been doing it since I was 17. So, 16, 17 years. in roofing, and I can't train someone to have 16 years of knowledge in 4 weeks. It's just not going to be possible. So it's like, okay, you just got to find out where to start, you know?
Yeah.
And especially in sales, I figured out willingness isn't enough. You know, someone who's just willing, it's like, okay, you've got to be at least decent at talking to people. Yeah. Especially if you want to be on outside sales, having to go win new business. You have to be confident and not nervous. And so, you know, kind of the key things I look for isn't roofing knowledge. Yeah. It's just personality. It's how nervous are you in this interview right now? Yeah. Because you're not asking me for any money, and you're not asking me for $50,000. All you're asking for is a job, you know, I mean, which is important. But if you can keep your cool in this situation, answer my questions, ask me some good questions, then it's almost like step one. Yeah. Has that kind of been a little bit of your experience?
100%. I definitely test in interviews for like, would I feel comfortable? Would my wife feel comfortable talking to this person in the house? Would this person be a good reflection of what I want my business to project? Right? Are they going to be moldable? That's another thing, right? Like, I'm not expecting people to come in as the perfect candidate, you know, on every aspect of their life except having water well knowledge, right? But I am looking for people that are going to communicate that they're coachable. Yeah. Right? Because if you have a system and a process that you want to run, like, you need to find people that are willing to come in and learn it and do it. And we do, right? So we have our in the home system, a way of talking to clients and helping them, you know, from our way to how to troubleshoot the problem, how to come up with technical solutions, and then how to get the job done. Like, we have a system to run, and I need people that are going to, you know, for whatever past experiences they might come with, first comply with the process, like, you know, learn the process, do the process, and then from that position of like, you know, familiarity and participation, then we're open to like ideas. Let's figure out how to do this better. But you don't want to hire people that just come in with good ideas on the first day and say, throw out your system and use mine.
Yeah, seriously. Well, and that's why one of our values that we have is humility. Yeah. You know, you got to be willing to be coached. And I think there's kind of maybe it's a catch-22 kind of that, you want a team player. Right. But then especially in sales, because, you know, I'm managing sales, and so that's what I think about. I kind of want people that are a little more competitive, you know, that want to win, and that is kind of individual success. And so finding someone who is pro team, you know, is good at working on, you know, with others, but also wants to find individual success and can be humble. I think one of the best ways that we've built that up is bringing people in from the ground level. Like, one of our guys, Cameron, he's doing awesome. He's a great producer for us, and he started out as a technician. Yeah, and then we ended up bringing him into sales, and I think what that creates is loyalty. And now he has maybe a reasonable and appropriate chip on his shoulder, right? Because he's done well. But he's also loyal to the company that gave him the shot at the beginning, and then brought him up to, being a full-time residential salesperson. So, you know, kind of what you were saying, you know, before we started recording about you got to develop these great team members. I think I'd choose doing it that way, even though it's a longer play than bringing somebody in with bad habits and ego because they did great at this other company, and then they try to work within our system, and then, you know, they start having resistance. Yeah, I mean, I think that every top performer has coaches. Like, top athletes still have coaches. They might be able to, you know, they performed at levels that nobody else is going to achieve. You think of like Tom Brady's or Tiger Woods or whatever. Pick your sports hero. They still get coaching, right? And they're open to it. They don't look down at people for trying to coach them. They hire good ones. They go out and seek the best. They seek that feedback, right? CEOs have management coaches, like, and leadership coaches, like, that's high performers seek out feedback and improvement, right? Yeah. So that is almost universal at the very top, right? And so, I mean, the trades, I think, are littered with guys that are very technically skilled, but take that technical skill and say, like, I don't need any feedback. I know how to do this. Don't talk to me. So what makes that person different, right? What makes is it was kind of thinking off the top of my head here. I mean, why would one person want to be so great that they're willing to take feedback, and the other person has this ego? And it's almost like the ego is an art. The ego is the ceiling. It's like if you have ego,
100%,
that you're only going to get so far.
I think you hit it on the head with your core values. Like you have to have that humility, right? And you have to realize that excellence is a process, not a destination. Like it's something you have to practice every day and do over and over and over again through iterative improvement.
Yeah.
Right. And constant self-evaluation, honest self-evaluation. You can't lie to yourself and get better. Right.
Right.
And so, finding people that can coach you and know what they're talking about is hugely influential.
Well, and I think, I go to kind of like my spiritual life, whenever I've tried to do everything on my own and kind of, guide my life, I kind of end up realizing that I'm not the best driver, and I need to, give it over to Christ. You know, like I need to go, you know what, I am not there, but because I'm on a journey to really trying to do something great, that will innately, innately, I will end up realizing I can't do it on my own, And so maybe the real difference is like that ego's a ceiling, but the people who like the Tiger Woods, the Michael Jordans, LeBron James, they're like, no, I want to be the best, and I tried to get there on my own, and I realized I couldn't.
Yeah.
And so maybe the people that resist that and have the ego, they're really actually not trying their hardest to truly be their best. I know we're getting a little meta here.
No, absolutely. And I'd say, so addressing those two areas specifically, like I think I don't think anybody's going to go talk about like Michael Jordan and say he was a really humble guy and didn't think that he was the best.
Right.
Like, I mean, I would say like Tim Duncan maybe is more like that, like one of the best players the NBA has ever seen, but very low key, right? Michael Jordan was deservedly like brash and authoritative about his skills, but had the targeted humility and the self-awareness to say like, I'm here and at this skill level because I practice all the time and I seek out coaching and improvement any chance I get, right? And then pivoting back to the spiritual point you made, I mean, like to put it succinctly, like Scripture says that he who started a good work will be faithful to complete it. And it doesn't say he who started a good work in us is going to let you take it from here. Like, that's not how it works. Right? Like our sanctification is through the continued activity of the Holy Spirit in our lives.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, so just kind of on that spirituality, I mean, I know you have family, and so that's a driver for you to be successful. But how do you kind of what drives you to your success, and how does your spirituality and your faith have an effect on your purpose in business? I mean, we're building all these towers and kingdoms on earth that essentially won't matter that much when we die.
Oh no, so, not going to matter at all.
Yeah. So what is how do you kind of reconcile your spiritual journey with your career journey?
Yeah, I mean, biblically, I'm the man that's providing for my family. Like that's one of my charges is a headship of our family, and I employ a lot of people that also fill that role for their families. Right. And it's together we need to go out and be excellent. I mean, I think that being excellent glorifies God just in and of itself. Certainly, being mediocre or poor doesn't do anything for God, right? But witnessing through like excellence is a valid way to witness, right? Right. We don't seek, or I don't seek, fame and riches for the sake of fame and riches. I think designing an excellent company, assembling an excellent team is a way to, help these men glorify God, help the men and women provide for their families, glorify God, and grow. I'm fortunate to be in a business right now that before I even came in, it like they were very open in their faith. Yeah. For a large part, like the team prays every morning for safety and for concerns before they go out and into the world to serve customers. So I'm happy about being in control of a business that had that culture before I got there.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, especially for roofers, I mean, I don't know how it is for, water well services and plumbing with Flowcore, but, their roofers at one point were ranked like second lowest behind police officers on people who were trusted. Like, it's weird, but firefighters were like number one. Police officers were like at the very bottom of the list. I think it was like I have 100, 150 professions, and then roofers were like 149. And so, I don't like talking smack about other people in the industry, but it's no secret that you've got roofers that will kind of take advantage of the fact that people have no idea what's going on their roof.
I think that's the story with every single service contract discipline.
Mm-hmm. And so there are times when I see, man, if we didn't have our ethics and our morals, we could make a whole bunch more money, I
mean, I think the right way to look at it is because of your ethics and your morals, you can make a whole bunch more money. Like,
you
just need to, it's a marketing message.
Sure. Well, that, and I think that...
And a sales training issue.
Absolutely. And I think when I say that, I hear myself and I go, well, that's a short-term gain, right? That's short-term. Okay, I can win this many more jobs if I just told them something else. But what happens is, well, then somebody finds out what's going on. One of your clients finds out, and then your reputation's damaged. After your reputation's damaged, then you're really struggling at that point.
Yeah.
And so it is, like everything in Scripture, it's usually sacrificing some type of temporary now pleasure for delayed gratification. And so I think the same is true in business. We have to be willing to make the good ethical decisions and trust that's going to pay off in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, just like taking care of your people, taking care of your customers is what ends up taking care of your business. You have to have that reputation that this business is trustworthy. The only reason they're having you out there is because they don't have the skills and time and to do it themselves, right? Like, I remember I had a house in Austin for a while, and the first time in my life I had a real household appliance break. It was my HVAC system got a leak in the refrigerant line, and just the feeling of like frustration that I didn't know how to fix this.
Yeah.
Not even like, it's not like it's rocket science, but like I wasn't even legally allowed to fix it because I didn't have an EPA card and I couldn't go buy refrigerant on my own, right? And just knowing that this, like, I can't do it is frustrating. And as a customer, I'm talking to this HVAC technician that knows how and can solve this problem for me, and I'm frustrated that I can't do it, as it's my personality. There's customers that don't have the first clue how their systems are working, or
right.
What do that there isn't even a copper line going from their their inside unit to the outside unit on their HVAC system. They don't know.
Yeah.
Right. So to them, it's just a big mist of confusion, and they're on their heels because they've got a problem. It's Texas in the summer and it's hot, and they need air conditioning, right? Like, or they're at home. They know there's this hole in the ground where the water comes out. They don't know what's down there, how the water gets up. But they know they can't take a shower. They can't fill a pot, right? Yeah. They can't wash their hands. They can't flush the toilets. Like, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And they need it fixed. And in the service industry, you have to approach that with the right kind of humility and professionalism. Right? You can't be arrogant because that's how you convince people that you're just trying to take advantage of them.
Right.
And you also have to have the professionalism that shows them that we do this all day and every day. Like, I know you don't have a contractor in your home except for maybe once, twice a year, maybe. Right? We're in, hundreds, thousands of homes a year. Right? This is normal for us. We're professionals at it, and we're going to take good care of you. But you need to be proactive about communicating that through your behavior, through your words, right? Through how you talk about problems, how you explain things, your metaphors, and whatever that you're using to talk to a customer. Being professional in practice is what communicates to them that this is a professional and I'm in good hands, and I don't need to be am I getting ripped off antenna doesn't need to go up. Does this guy actually know what he's doing, or am I just buying somebody? Am I have to pay this guy a bunch of money to think he fixed it and then call somebody else out when it breaks again? Like, you've got to put all those fears away from them. You've got to take care of them up front. And
that really is when you have to build that value, before you present the price, all that stuff. So in the sales process for Flowcore, I mean, I know right now we're kind of struggling trying to implement some hard and fast rules on what we're going to do, what we're not going to do. do you are you sticking pretty strictly to that sales process in terms of we're not qualifying a buyer like that first off, and giving bids to qualified buyers, or giving bids to unqualified buyers.
So I try and my approach to whether or not a buyer is or is not qualified is just give them the options and let them tell you what they can afford to do. Right? We shouldn't, as professional salespeople and service technicians, shouldn't be making that decision in the house before the customer does.
Gotcha.
It'd be like going to a restaurant and walking in, the waiter saying, you know what? Here's the top third of the wine list. Why don't you pick one of those, right? Let them order, right?
I guess when I think about it, some specific instances come to mind with what's happened on my team recently. You got people that are kind of tire kicking, or they're just looking for a price, or they're looking for the cheapest thing. And one of the questions I always want them to ask is, hey, what's your time frame for making a decision on this project? And if someone says, well, I don't know, I might do it next year or this year, it's like, okay, how much time am I going to
pre-screen for that? You can pre-screen for tire kickers. A service fee is like a visitation or an estimate fee is a good way to do that. You get people that, if they're not willing to pay $80 to have you come out and get an estimate, they're probably not going to buy a roof, right? In my business, if they're not going to pay us to go out, show up and troubleshoot the issue, they're probably just kicking the tires.
Gotcha.
But even then, you should still have a professional presentation, even if they are kicking the tires, right? And you can ask straight up, like, if we come up with a solution today, are you willing to proceed? Just be honest with them. Get them to say yes or no.
Right.
If they say like, oh, I kind of want to think about it, that's fine. Adjust what you're going to do in the home appropriately.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, there's going to be tire kickers, and there are going to be people that want to take care of it. And you can set up some measures to thoughtfully get in front of the right people.
Right. Yeah, and then the other problem that kind of comes up after that step is just in follow-up. Roofing, I don't know how it is for your services, but it's usually not a one-call close. It's a lot of money. Usually it's unexpected. They have a leak that all of a sudden came out of their ceiling, and so they're like, oh man, okay, $20,000. I mean, that's a lot. It's not really what I expected. And we found out that a lot of homeowners don't have that money just laying around, a vast majority of them, or that's all they have. And so, one thing that I am trying to get ingrained into our process is always scheduling a meeting from the last meeting. And in that way, we kind of take control of the process. Like, I was talking to my dad.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was talking to my dad the other day, and, we can't be so passive. We're like, okay, yeah, whenever you want, give us a call back. Like, we'll be here for you. Rather look at it like we're a fitness coach, and someone says, hey, I want to lose 30 pounds. Can you help me? And we go, yeah, I'll help you. And we call you every day to check if you're in the gym and check if you're eating the right stuff. Like, someone said they have a desire they want to replace their roof. And if we let them, just like a trainer would let their client off the hook, if we let them off the hook, well, then we didn't do a very good job of helping them fix their issue. Right. Because we know they don't want to sit there for 3 months with this project hanging over their head if they know they need to get it done. So taking control of that process, saying, hey, always making sure there's a meeting scheduled from the previous meeting and not leaving things open-ended for me to have to get on the phone and get back a hold of them, or for them to just call me whenever they're ready.
Yeah. I mean, one way to, am I allowed to say the F word on here? Financing?
Whoa. I thought it was finance.
Yeah. So, I mean, the financing is a great way to handle that. You're right. Most homeowners don't have like $50,000 laying around, and if they did, they probably don't want to spend it on a roof.
Right.
Nor do they want to spend money on getting their water pump fixed for their well. But they really want to be able to take showers in the morning, right?
Right.
And keeping the water off of you when you're laying down at night is one of the fundamental, the base layer of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Yeah. Stay out of the rain. So very clearly, it's a base need, right? It's not a nice to have. It's like you have to keep the water out. And so being able to help them afford it is so critical.
Right.
It's not a, did I wish Americans didn't have as much consumer debt as we have? Sure. But that's not going to fix the hole in your roof. It's not going to get you water so you can take a shower in the morning.
Yeah.
These are the tools that we have to help you solve your problem today. And, it's very effective. It's very helpful.
Yeah.
There's plenty of options that are.
Yeah, and that's when we've moved towards that. I mean, we're putting financing, or we call it low monthly payment options on on all of our proposals now, to give people that visual of they see $20,000 or $235 a month.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think it's tough because we know they know that they're going to end up paying over time double for whatever the initial cost is. But, we think of financing as this kind of almost necessary evil in some ways. But
I wouldn't even call it evil. Like it's just a financial tool.
Sure.
And I mean, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole too much, but people can abuse debt and then get themselves in trouble. But that's debt for like jet skis or, vacations or stuff that you don't really need to have. When it's the services that we offer that are kind of like very base needs, that's not an abuse of debt. That's where you should be using it. And if you've abused it other places, that's unfortunate. But
well, and I think for me, I have probably an ingrained bias because when I graduated college, I got hired to sell pools. It was called Blue World Pools. I don't care. I'll say the company name because it was terrible. And they had this trainer. They put me up at a hotel at this trainer, and the whole thing was about advertising a $299 above ground pool. And then you get into the home, and he says, you stay there for as long as it takes. And you go through your scripts, and essentially you're trying to sell them a $12,000, $15,000, or $17,000 above ground pool system. Yeah. And he even talks about the people like, they're salt of the earth people. They're good people. Some people will kick you out of their home, but these people, they're good people. And so their whole model was signing people up for financing that can't afford it and then selling those loans to somebody else down the road. Yeah. And so we have these.
There certainly are predatory, but I mean, there's predatory contractors, right?
No, absolutely. And
there's roofers that'll sell a roof that you don't need. There's water well pump servicers that'll recommend changing a pump that is running just fine, right? There's HVAC technicians that'll go knock a hole in your refrigerant line and say, you got a leak.
Yeah. Right. No, absolutely.
That's unscrupulous in a different way. Yeah. It's not an indictment against financing or an indictment against contractors. It's an indictment against people.
Yeah. And, I tell that story because I think it's just one of those things where we have human experiences and they ingrain us into a way of thinking. So I've had to kind of unlearn the negatives to reframe my opinion on financing in general. Yeah. But it's not, and it's, you're right. I shouldn't say necessary evil. I should say it's appropriate sometimes for the right situation. It's a financial tool. So changing that frame of reference to a more appropriate perspective is good in that. So I really wanted to ask you. Well, first off, you on your LinkedIn, I think your profile, it says you have this Lean Six Sigma and GMAT, and I was like, I don't know.
Does it still say Lean Six Sigma on there?
It does.
Okay.
And I was like, man, I don't know if that's from the Navy or if that's a business. It almost sounds like a move or something.
It is a Lean Six Sigma, man. That was a buzzword. I mean, don't get me wrong. Very valid business principles, and I still use them to this day. I signed up for when I was getting out of the Navy. The command that I was at had a lot of civilians and stuff, and it was kind of it was in the acquisitions part of the Navy, so buying new types of equipment. Right, if we're going to buy a new airplane, we need to test it and do the interface with the civilian world a lot more. So I signed up to take this class just to put it on my resume. And so I did the green belt there, and then I go to work at General Motors, and they actually required everybody at my level to have a Six Sigma black belt.
Oh wow!
Which is just like a credentialing.
Sounds dangerous.
Don't. Dangerous. That's a good word for it. It's just a way to kind of grade how much responsibility you have in these projects. Sure. But the principles that it teaches you to like look for what is truly value creative or wasteful is important. Like the 7 forms of waste from the lean principles, the data focus and diligence that you put into like a Six Sigma design. Like the concept of Six Sigma is that you're supposed to have 6 standard deviations of process control in the work that you're doing, so that like errors are extremely rare. I think that's
Gotcha. Okay.
I want to say that that's also like 99.999% effective, or I think it's been a while since I've looked at standard deviations and the like in the math, but the purpose is to be thoughtful about how you're designing. Whether it's airplanes or cars or office processes, such that you aren't being wasteful with people's time.
Gotcha. Well, and that's what the JIT stands for, just in time, right?
Yes.
And that's like not having a whole bunch of inventory.
A good automotive.
Yeah. I mean, for us, that's how we operate. But it's tough because you end up having excess, and then where do you put that? And it's like, what's your process? I mean, just that simple process of, we're doing a custom job on a home, right? There's going to be excess, going to be waste, leftover material. What's the process for getting that back to where it needs to go, or storing it, or using it on a repair later on the road? But this idea of getting all your material to deliver on a product or service install just in time, and that reducing a lot of waste. Sometimes we're like, hey, if there's leftover, just throw it away. Like that.
Well, honestly,
if
there's leftover parts, customers don't want somebody else's leftovers.
Right.
Like I've had there was a practice in a business I was running where if, say, like an expensive piece of tank equipment, say a water filter, had the head unit fail, they go back to the shop, grab a head unit off of one of our inventory water filters, and go install just the head unit, so they can do a cheaper repair, right? But you're just saying that the next guy gets a stepped on, like half broken piece of gear. Like, we sell new stuff to our customers, not the stepped on stuff. Like that's not good for our business. That's not good for our customers.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And we don't have any inventory. We don't want to store any inventory. Because we've done it before, where we tried to order preemptively during COVID because there was so much, supply chain issues. It was tough. And we have in the warehouse, we still have stacks of ISO. It's all protected and wrapped up, and we can use it. It's fine, but it definitely gets in the way. And then what does that affect? Well, okay, how do we
use that cash for something else?
We could, we could use it for something else. I mean, even just staging other projects in the warehouse. Getting ready. Having just a clean atmosphere. So I totally get that concept of eliminating all that waste. Because it just frees up your mental space, and then people to do what they need to be doing. Not cleaning up all the time.
I mean, I'd say like the lean principles and Six Sigma concept is kind of table stakes for anybody running a small business. If you have no idea what I'm talking about when I say the 7 forms of waste, just at least go find an infographic on that.
Gotcha.
Right? If you have no idea what Six Sigma really means, go find an infographic on that. Get that base level of knowledge. I'm not saying you got to read every book about it out there. And I think the certification ecosystem behind it gets a little bit silly, but it is helpful to communicate to a team like, this matters to us. Learn it and practice it.
Yeah. So I want to go back to, you were talking about starting this company in New York City, right? You got a handful of guys, and you said you were very data driven. Yeah. So, what are those KPIs you're looking at from a young company? If there's any entrepreneurs out there that are wanting to start their own business, what did y'all look at up front to set yourself up for success down the road?
Yeah, I mean, at a fundamental level, with that, in a venture-backed startup, the KPI world is a little bit of a loony bin. It's not strict financial performance, right? Your investors will accept a loss. That's kind of the game. Is we will accept a loss until you've gotten to sufficient scale that you don't need to be loss making anymore.
Right.
For us, I'd say the KPI that I was mostly concerned with all the work that I would do is how fast can we close a loan. It was a mortgage startup. I think I said that. Yeah. was how fast can we go from loan application to loan funded. And in the days of 2019, 2020, 2021, a lot of people were moving out of urban areas and high net worth areas, concentrated wealth areas, out into lower concentration of wealth and could throw cash around, right? So your standard American home buyer was having to compete with a lot of cash offers. The real estate market was flying, like shooting through the roof, right? So it was really hard for a normal, everyday American to go buy a house, to be competitive when, home buyer A has cash and say, I can buy this house 10 days from now, let's go.
Right.
Home buyer B says, I can buy this house, but it has to pass my bank's like appraisal value, in a world where like the sales prices are way higher than like there's a lot of appraisal risk in those. And then and I've got to make sure that I can clear this debt right on my debt to income ratio. I've got the cash close. Like there's a bunch of questions, right? So offering the same price, a seller wants to take cash offer over financed offer. And our fundamental like product offering in the mortgage space was, we are so confident that we're going to close this mortgage and buy this house that the business that I was running, we're just going to go ahead and make the offer ourselves. So my business is going to buy this house in 10 days, and I'm going to put a special contract provision on here that says, if I get my mortgage ready for my client in time, I have the right to just assign the purchase contract to them, and they buy it with a mortgage.
Gotcha.
So to the seller, there's no risk anymore.
Right.
There's no like, is this mortgage going to close risk? If the mortgage doesn't close, the company's still on the hook to buy the house. I'm selling this house for that price on that timeline.
So how often would that condition?
I think we bought maybe 3 or 4 homes in the 4 or 5 years I was there. Not a lot.
So you were doing some pretty due diligence to make sure that those transactions were going to go
we
through.
were aggressively operationally streamlining the mortgage origination process.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
Being very focused and diligent about making sure that we could close a mortgage on time, right? And taking that waste out of mortgage origination. I mean, going back to Lean Six Sigma principles, right? We're looking for idle time and in areas where like touch time as another KPI would be something I'd focus on. Like how much time is an actual employee of my business spending thinking about or processing your mortgage application. And if it's not a lot, and in reality it's just number 17 in their backlog of 25 loans to work on that day, and most of what is going to that loan's activity is just going to be taking its way to 17, 16, 15, 14, all the way down to the number 1 position. And then finally it gets looked at for 10 minutes, a decision gets made, and it gets forwarded to somebody else's and lands 43 in their backlog, right? Like, and the reality of the mortgage business is that's most of the process of making a loan.
Right.
Is it's just sitting in queue.
Yeah. So you're talking a lot about, speed, time, right? I mean, right now in the world we live in, it's like time is everything. Getting to a client quickly, getting through the process of, getting this loan approved, or, even getting to someone's house and, doing plumbing and water well services or roofing. So do you think that principle of speed and time is kind of what you focus on now as well?
Yeah, to some degree. Like you try and set up your service technicians to be able to solve 90% of the problems without having to leave the house. So there's not really a major time constraint there.
Gotcha.
It's certainly not great if you have to say, I have to go to the shop or to a supply house to go buy that water heater or that that pump that you need. But that's just a necessary. You can't carry everything on the truck.
Right.
It's just required. What you certainly don't want to do, and which I see a lot of in the more budget tier contractors, is say, we're going to come out tomorrow and get halfway started on this job, and I've already booked, the day after and the day after that with another client. So, then I'll come out after them and finish the rest of it. Like,
right.
That's telling this customer, like, you matter only to me to get started, but you don't really matter when I close this work because I'm working nonstop anyway, and you're just a priority I'm juggling. Right. You want to be with that customer, solving that customer's problem until that customer's problems are solved and they're happy about it. And then you come out of that house, and then you can start worrying about like what else is going on, right? What other jobs do I have today? Who had to get kicked tomorrow because I spent too long there? When you're in that customer's house, they deserve and expect your undivided attention to solve their problems. And if you're not giving them that, you're not giving them good service. Right.
And I think that goes, kind of plays into the truth of the very best lead out there is a referral. Right. I mean, would you agree with that? I mean, because I know in roofing, I think it's like 80% of referrals end up closing as a job. Yeah. Rather than someone who did a whole bunch of research on Google or, got 3 guys off the top Google search to come and take a look.
I would say I agree that the best, highest, easiest to close is a referral. Mm-hmm. The only caveat is that with that, or hesitance you might hear in my voice, is that referrals aren't a way to grow a business. Okay. Like at the end of the day, you're going to have to find new customers that you advertise to, right? Yeah. Or that you throw up a billboard and they call you. You're going to have to impress somebody from a cold start, right? You just can't grow any sort of serious business on the back of nothing but referrals. Gotcha. That'll be fine for driving like a one-man shop or something like that. Sure. But that's not going to provide for families at the scale that you and I are trying to do. Right. 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 But yeah, because I guess, what is the fall off? What is the ratio? If you have 10 clients, how many referrals can you reasonably expect from 10 clients? Is it maybe at best it's self-sustaining, right? Like from those 10, you get one of each. You get one, then you get one. You get, and candidly, you have to get 2 referrals from a client in order for that to start. And candidly, it makes for not good customer service. Yeah, because you're hitting softballs all the time. Actually having to be good at your job, at the customer service side of the job. You're getting these softballs. Hey, so-and-so said you're really great at this. I'd love you guys to help build my roof, change my pump. Absolutely, man, love to do that. But I didn't have to communicate my value or convince them that I had the right technical solution. I didn't have to do really any of the core skills of a home services business. I got the layup, right? If you're trying to win a game by nothing but layups or the easy layups in space, doesn't make you hard. You're not going to be a competitive player. You're not going to win. Strengthen you. Yeah. So we've done historically the kind of the basic stuff, right? SEO, buying, bidding on keywords, that kind of thing. What we've seen recently is we've gotten quite a few leads now coming through with ChatGPT, Perplexity. Yeah. These AI softwares that are recommending people. So this is so new, and for me at least, it's not new to everybody. It's been around, but I think I saw some stat. It was 48% of people are searching for products through these AI language models. So how is that playing into your strategy with Flowcore on getting leads? So I am not a marketing expert. I kind of take the tack of, I forget who said it, but 50% of the money I spend on marketing is wasted. I just don't know which 50% it is. God, that really hits me right in the heart, man. I think true. But even a marketing agent has to admit that's true. There's going to be Google impressions that I pay for and purchase that are not going to convert, right? And the whole idea of running tests is we want to see what works. It is a tacit admission that not everything is going to work. Yeah. Period. Right. Yeah. But you got to play the game and win the game in order to find business and grow. Yeah. How do you kind of to your question about AI, right? Sure. Again, taking care of customers, building that reputation, getting maybe not the word of mouth referrals, but having customers talk about you on Reddit, on Facebook, on a lot of how these models are training themselves is scouring, the public discourse about things, right? And if you have documentation of your business being helpful to people and doing the right repairs and treating people honestly, and they talk about it, that's how it comes back. And that's, Google tries to coerce it through their business profiles and their Google reviews. And that we play a game there. A lot of if you look at the, like Gemini, when you do like a Google search and it gives you the AI summary at the top. I can't tell you how many of those summaries have like a Reddit link in it, and Reddit was never a source of a source of truth for like, I'm definitely gonna find the right answer on Reddit of all places, but AI is looking there, and there's anecdote after anecdote of a small town contractor creating a Reddit account for their business and just going on Reddit and just answering questions. My water heater started making a funny tick. What's going on? Like, it might be this, that, or the other thing. Not give us a call, we'll come out and fix it post, but just like, hey, look into this. Or, plumber in Spokane, Washington is answering on a general, like R plumbing or whatever, to somebody in Kansas City saying, hey, try finding a plumber that can look into that for you. It's very obviously not an ask for their business. It's just genuine being helpful, right? And when you build up that kind of, Reddit calls it karma because they measure it that way, like, upvotes and whatnot. Right. But, basically ChatGPT is doing the same thing. It's just looking for the general sentiment. Like, people say that was helpful on Reddit, so it must be helpful. Yeah. When somebody asks me this question on Google or in a ChatGPT prompt, that comes back, and I recommend it. Well, it seems like, if you're a lone wolf, or even if you're a small business and you don't have a decent amount of money going towards its marketing, how do you keep up? Because you don't. It's not like you set it. Marketing's never really been a set it and forget it, but now it's really not a set it and forget it. The target feels like it's constantly moving. It is. And that's the perennial frustration with marketing, right? Like, every operator wants marketing, the top of funnel to just be stable, and to set it and forget it, so they can focus on operating their business. But at its core level, the only reason a home services business should exist is because you can market. Like, people can call a journeyman plumber out to fix their problems. Like, you can call out an individual skilled tradesperson to go fix your problem for you. Yeah. But the idea of like having a business and actually throwing our lots in together is that I can take a little bit of the workload off of the technician, and I can create a team that customers want over other teams or over other individuals, right? And if you're not getting that message out there with marketing, you're not doing half the job. Yeah. And what's the regulation like with the plumbing? There's master plumbers, or like there's certification levels? There's general. It's a typical trade certification level. You have an apprenticeship phase, you have a journeyman phase, and you have a master plumbing license. And to be a plumbing contractor, you have to have a master license, a responsible master plumber designation. Well, I don't want to sit here and complain, right? But there's nothing like that in roofing. No. Yeah. There's nothing, and so we talk about marketing spend and all these things, and with storm damage in Dallas, we have tons of roofers that will flood here, even with the storms we had recently. And so one of our big challenges is when marketing costs go up, right? Like they have been. Yeah. Our cost per click on Google Ads, just for one example, is just crazy. We lose money on repairs, right? We have to get replacements if we're going to make money on an internet lead. Luckily, we do get referrals. We have other avenues we go through, so we're fine. But then we have these other contractors that there's no certification. We do things like, people think, well, your overhead's too high. You have overhead. It's like, well, what comes with overhead is, an office staff, right? We pay our people well. You can get a hold of us. You can come find us. Our communication systems, we invest into those. We invest into training so that we know we're going to put on a proper product. But at the end of the day, nobody has to do any of these things. And so we end up getting into price. We get into price competition all the time. And it makes me think, well, we've got to do something incredible on the front end of our sales process to blow people away, to build the value. Otherwise, we just become a commodity. How do we get out of that? Yeah, you cannot talk about yourself like a commodity. Yeah. Period. Right. You have your technicians and your salespeople need to believe that in their core. Right. I mean, there's a lot to unpack in what you said, but like like from the marketing perspective, you're right. Marketing's just going to get more and more expensive, and if you're not going to be honest about that and try to figure out how to afford it, you're not going to be able to succeed, right? And then on the commodity part, like a roof is now what, a 40, 50, 100-year decision? Like, how long are roofs lasting these days?
Well, there's different ones. So we have roofs that are the typical asphalt roofs, and they might last at the very low end 15, at the very high end of asphalt designer maybe 25, right?
Yeah.
They're very susceptible to hail, even though they might have a class 4 rating, which means they have some test with a steel ball and it passes. But now there's the synthetics, and so the synthetic shingles, they will last 50 years, maybe even longer. But they're at a higher price point. I mean, it can be it can be double what you might pay for an asphalt shingle. But they've actually now recently passed severe hail tests. So they shoot like an ice cannon at 160 miles an hour at these shingles, and they pass. They don't get damaged.
Makes me want to get back into the test world again.
It's cool, and we have an ice cannon. We have an ice cannon too.
Oh, do you?
But yeah, we have one, but it doesn't go that fast, right?
Okay.
These are real professional tests that they do. So it can be a 20-year product if it's asphalt. If it's these synthetics that are coming out, I mean, 50 years. And the synthetics, at a 30 square roof, it might cost you, $20,000 for asphalt shingle, and maybe $45,000.
I guarantee you, none of your customers want to make a 50-year decision on the back of like with a fly-by-night contractor, right? And so if they're looking at you as a commodity, that is, it's a failure on the salesperson's plate to talk about the value that they're actually selling, right? Selling, like, I mean, nobody buys a phone, right, on what is the cheapest. Everybody has expensive smartphones and nobody's running around with a jitterbug, right? People avoid the cheapest things all the time. Nobody buys the cheapest bottle on the wine list, right? Nobody buys the cheapest thing, right? Not a lot of people buy the most expensive thing, but people see value in being there in the sweet spot in the middle. And so you have to learn what it means to differentiate yourself, right? To distinguish yourself on service, on dependability, on long-lasting reputation. One of my competitors at a previous business would sell a mini split system installed for, I think it was about $350 more than the actual equipment cost to buy at the same, like the only distributor that was selling them in the area, right? So I knew exactly what he was buying the equipment for. And I knew that he was only clearing about $350, and he would go do 2 a day, right, to install these systems. And, what I was telling my salespeople were like, oh, how can we compete with that? It's so cheap. And it's like, don't. Like, if you're trying to compete with that, you're going to lose. You should not be competing on price. What you should be saying is, like, this guy does not have time to take a day off. If he screws up, he does not have time to come fix your house because he can't eat at the end of the week. He can't make rent if he's not making that $350 at every job twice a day, period. He is making himself a slave to that op tempo and that $350 a day and just living hand to mouth. He cannot build a business like that, which means he cannot be a reputable supplier. He can't come fix it. If he does a crap job, he doesn't even have time to like start again, right? He doesn't have time to fix things while he's on the job. He's got to keep going, right? And so if your salespeople need to have that awareness that that's not how we do business here. We do business the right way. If we see a problem, we will fix it, right? If you have a problem with our installation after we leave, we'll come back and fix it. Right? We stand by our work. That needs to mean something, and you have to be able to communicate that to customers in a way that's meaningful. And that takes repetition and practice and sales trainings and whatever to get that vernacular and the way we communicate that in our head. And it's like we know we have the value, and I think that we're so accustomed to seeing it in ourselves that we forget, hey, you have to tell people. Otherwise they won't understand it. We don't get to just, we're not,
we don't have a natural beauty to us. We have to like
Right.
lay it out and explain to people kind of, why we're different. Maybe not why
Yeah.
we're awesome, but hey, here's what makes us different. And
That circles all the way back down to, or all the way back again to the idea of like we're the professionals, and we need to communicate that with how we present ourselves in the house. It's just a unique and rare thing for the homeowner, but it is an everyday occurrence for us, and we need to treat it like we're the professionals that we are.
yeah, and I think the big thing going back to control in the
Yeah.
sales process, you can be the hero of your own story and pick us, but we need to have a standard that we set when we meet the client to go, hey, so happy you called us. This is what you can expect. This is what's
Right.
going to happen over the next 2 hours, and then maybe the next few weeks as you make a decision towards getting your roof replaced or getting your well redone or whatever you're all do
Yeah.
over there. Yeah. Okay. So last question before we kind of wrap this up. I mean, what other areas is AI in your business, and where do you see that moving? We talked about marketing.
Yeah.
What about just internal processes? What is happening?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, I touched on it a little bit, but I can't just hire somebody off the street and make them a lead water well technician. They got to know how to operate a big, expensive crane, all the safety concerns that go into that. They have to know how to do some unique troubleshooting that's really only done in our discipline. And the best way to find that talent is to make it inside, right? And you can, I think the long storied tradition in the trades of making talent means like you give an apprentice a shovel and tell him to like shut up and do the grunt work, right?
Right.
Which certainly works, right? It's tried and true. It will get the job done. It might not do it quickly, might not do it effectively. You might drive off. You end up keeping the real hard-headed, stubborn ones that don't want to quit, which in and of itself is a good character trait. But you drive off people that want to kind of have some more mastery over their skills. Like you're just making it really hard for people to figure out what they need to learn it, and demonstrate it and get through it. So, I mean, you mentioned you have like a really long document of like procedures that you've written up. We did too. And well, I mean, before I got here, we didn't have anything, but we sat down over the course of a couple months, once or twice a week to sit down and talk through like what should we have as our standard operating procedures? How do we want to make the Flowcore repair? When we say we're going to fix a pump, this is all the standard that we're going to put into it, and it will be excellent. What does that look like? Right? Because I can't tell somebody that's never done a pump repair, say, I want you to do excellent work. I have to tell them, this is what excellent looks like. Copy this in everything that you do. So we spent a long time just iterating on that and developing a good standard operating procedure.
Right.
And then I took it to FedEx, right, and had to print it out in binders. And I got there to the office. It's like, there's a big fat binder with a big long document that nobody's going to read.
Yeah. Right.
How do I actually get this in front of people in a way that makes sense? And I mean, honestly, this is like literally the magic of AI.
Yeah.
I uploaded this document into an AI, and I said, I want to turn this into discrete, like step by step, learn this and be able to talk about it or demonstrate this specific skill, and just build me like a checklist to say that, when all the skills are checked off, they know everything that's in this book. And it did, and it structured it into like, this is what we need for like basic technician or basic assistant qualification, we call it. So like how to get a truck ready, how to like store parts in the truck and that kind of stuff. And then how to be safe with electricity. Like one of the first things you need to do is not kill yourself on the job, right? How to be safe with like loads overhead. And then how to start doing some basic repair actions, how to do basic troubleshooting actions. And so we've mapped out like this career progression, and this, I borrowed it heavily from Navy, like the Navy kind of training patterns that I saw. So we have this entire like training track mapped out that is completely bespoke to our business, our processes, our unique challenges. And it's got a dashboard I can look and make sure people are making steady progress. I can set deadlines for them. And this is all just stuff I asked AI, hey, make this system for me. I mean, it wasn't just the one question. It was a couple weeks of back and forth and iteration to get to where we're at today. But, I've talked to, I wish I could remember the names of them, but a couple of different, like technical training course vendors that where you can sign on and learn everything you need to be a journeyman plumber. Now you can just upload the plumbing code and tell it to do a bunch of internet research and make your own courses.
Wow.
And it's just instantaneous.
Yeah.
You don't have like that packaged solution that somebody used to sell for a lot of money. I mean, I think the solutions were a couple $100 a month per seat, right? Just to train the least skilled people in my business. I mean, sure, they're going to end up contributing, but it's a major investment in the people that are the least skilled and not adding to my business.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's so cheap to come up with a structured training track. And what we found are the people that show up and really like look at this as a checklist and as like the go get list, like these are the things I need to do, and are driving their own kind of their own path and their own timeline through that list, are the ones that we really want. Those are the ones that are going to be excellent, right? They're the go getters. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
If you don't have that structure to go get these things, then they're just frustrated.
Yeah,
and they don't want to be there.
And they leave because they don't see a path. Right.
And you're stuck with the guys that are just bullheaded enough to want to grab a shovel and dig until somebody tells them to do something else.
Yeah. So with the AI, you use those LLMs as a tool to speed up some processes that would have taken us a long time. What about AI voice agents and text agents and online scheduling bots? I mean, I've talked to some of those companies, and I'm not sure if it's a problem that needs solving in our business right now. We talk about after hours calls. I mean, we have a phone service, but it's a person, and sometimes not in this country. And I mean, we could find better ones, right? But that's an added cost. I mean, the AI is getting more affordable. So do y'all do anything like that? I mean,
we do now. I want to do more of it. I mean, what I've done so far on like the call center side is I've taken every single call we've ever made or received from our business and run it through an AI to get a good transcript, a good sentiment analysis, a good call, voice identification. So all of that is like captured in a database, every single call we've ever made, and it's recording. It's doing this on future calls. So now I have this massive pool of data about how what works and what doesn't. The software, the call software that we use, kind of built into our dispatching software, it will call an inbound phone call a lead if it lasts longer than 60 seconds. It's called a heuristic, right? Like, if you're talking to somebody for longer than a minute, they're probably interested in doing business with you. But that's by no means an accurate way to do that analysis. But if you can listen to every single phone call and actually identify where they asked for your services and they haven't scheduled it already, you can accurately identify a lead. Now, that means as the only person who's there to audit phone calls, I have to go and listen to every single phone call. I don't have time for that. Nobody does. But this is where AI comes in. What I was talking about earlier about being able to surface that data and make a good decision quickly. Like, I can send all those transcripts to AI and can say how many phone calls over the last quarter were actual customers asking for lead or for work that we do. And that is a much more accurate definition of what is a lead, right? It doesn't depend on the call center rep, classifying or dispositioning a call. It's just automatically interpreted from what was said.
Yeah.
And so as an operator, I can get that information and signal much faster and much easier without the noise of are people collecting data correctly?
Yeah. No, that's man. It's exciting. It's exciting to see how the world's going to change and how much easier things are going to be. The scary thing is the people who are really good at implementing these things, they're going to just kind of take off super fast and beat the competition.
I mean, that's the story with anything, right?
Right. Yeah. It feels a little bit like scary. I don't know. Maybe it's just because it's now, but it feels it can be so much faster.
Speed kills. The people that can take a process and implement it quickly are going to win, right? And whether that's process is implementing just-in-time inventory standards or Lean Six Sigma process discipline, so that every repair is 99.999% reliable, or the people that can take an AI process and drop it into their business faster. They're going to be the ones that succeed. And that operational change management and discipline and focus on procedures and processes is what wins. And whether that's pointed at AI and bringing in AI tools, or just pointed in how what is your repair SOP, it doesn't matter. It's that
Yeah.
essence of being operationally disciplined.
I guess I think too, though, with especially AI searches,
Yeah.
Eventually it's probably going to move to a pay-to-play model, right? I mean, maybe, probably. And so getting in now and getting, using the wave of free AI search probably is going to help people. Now, you're right. I mean, I don't think anything is going to be totally make or break, but catch a wave at the right time.
Yeah.
It can take you a little bit further than if you're a little bit late. Right?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That's like saying that because there's paid digital ads, you don't need to worry about SEO.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, all AI, the work that you have to do for a good AI recommendation today before paid advertisements on the platforms is basically good SEO.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe extending your SEO from just your business then into like the Reddits and the Facebook groups and all this stuff and public perception. But at its essence, it's that passive advertising versus proactive paid direct response advertising.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Man, I feel like I have so much more I could talk to you about, but I think we gotta wrap it up. Thanks for being here, man.
I appreciate you having me in today.
Yeah. Is there anything, any messaging you want to give? You got
Sure.
a couple cameras here.
If you've got a water well in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we're more than happy to come fix it. We've launched a plumbing division as well. Water. I don't know if you've seen the inside of a water heater, but it can get pretty gross, especially when you're on well water. That's one of the things we found is a lot of we used to go out and change pressure tanks that were full of dirt and sand and iron and bacteria and leave the water heaters alone, even though it's holding the same thing in that tank.
Oh,
wow. So yeah, we've got into plumbing now, and we serve the entire DFW Metroplex. We're located over in between Keller and Hazlitt, kind of north of Fort Worth. And but we got a pretty far reach.
Man.
So,
well, hey, wish the best to you. Again, thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
To everybody out there listening, thanks for tuning into Building Dallas. We're going to be back with more episodes. So tune in, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to Building Dallas, where we bring the stories that shaped North Texas. Subscribe, share, and stay connected. Until next time, keep building. Building Dallas is presented by Arrington Roofing, keeping North Texas covered, rain or shine.